Welcome to the One More Boom podcast, where we are a different breed. This is more than just a space for oil field and pipeline professionals. It's a community built for those who refuse to settle for the ordinary. You're here because you're ambitious, resilient, and driven to excel. At One More Boom, we're both more than just work. We're both thriving under pressure, breaking new ground, and pushing limits. This is your place to connect, learn, and grow with others who live for the challenge. You're not average, you're a different breed. Welcome to the One More Boom community.
All right. Today we got Anna on the One More Boom podcast, and we're so happy to have you on here today.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's fantastic. And how did we meet?
So we met at Fine Print in the basement there that night. Yes. And then remember you told me you were from Lethbridge?
Yes.
And I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I'm like, I'm just joking.
No, we're a thing. We're a thing. Yeah.
Lethbridge has got a vibe.
We do have a vibe.
Yeah.
It's good old Southern Alberta. So no, it's great. And that event that we were at, that was the grand opening for Friday.
Oh, was it? Yeah, that was the grand opening. Yeah. And I knew Michael through a couple visits, and then that's how, because he introduced us.
Yeah, which goes to the beauty of networking.
Oh my God, huge. Yeah. And Michael's such a networker. And I'm always looking at all his, Instagram, and I'm like, because there's so many men on those, like, and great looking, fit, all that kind of stuff, right? So I'm like, invite me to your shit.
No, it's really good. And so why, and you'll be the first female on our show.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, we've only had
amazing.
a couple guests, and so this is really cool because as a single male in the oil and gas and energy industry, it really interests me what you're doing because it's so needed.
Mm-hmm. So needed.
It's so needed.
So needed. Yeah.
So maybe if you can tell everyone, who you come or who you are and where you come from and why you do what you do now would be super cool.
Okay. So I was with my name is Anna Ahmed, born and raised in Calgary. So I'm very, my roots are here, right? I was with my ex-husband for 16 years, and it was a beautiful relationship as far as he was my best friend. So I know what that dynamic looks like. And also it was pretty toxic as like when we fought, right? Mm-hmm. So ultimately that's what ended us, right? So I left him right before COVID. I left the house and I started dating right away. And it was like one of those things where I was like, I'm used to having someone, right? So I was like, I'll go on the apps. I'm going to find, this will be exciting. So then I did it and I'm like, what is happening? And I noticed all of the things like the ghosting, the flakiness, the like accessibility to people. And just like, someone new once something went sideways. Right. So I would call out some of these guys that I would date, and I'd be like, and in a nice way, I'd be like, hey, because I also, what I took from being in my marriage was like not reacting, right? And then like kind of like taking a step back and processing, and then like revisiting the problem or whatever it was. So maybe too little, too late, right? But both people have to grow in order for that to work, right? It can't just be one person. So ultimately, I was just kind of like, I'm going to see what happens if I don't do anything. And then, because I was always the one to fix things and go and have the conversations. And so then I didn't. And that showed me, right? I was grieving and all that 5 months or whatever. So then, I joined the dating world, and then I started telling these people like my experience. And I'm like, hey, I don't know that a lot of people are told these things, right? Like they're like, because they just do the things and then they ghost, and then they're like, like they're free of it. Right. And so I'm just like, no, that's not cool. So I want them at least to know what the feeling is on the other end. Right. When stuff like that happens. And then maybe likely they're less, maybe next time they're less likely to do it again, right? To someone else, right? Because at that point, once I'm shown something, I'm like kind of done. So then I noticed like a need for like these men to just kind of like elevate themselves and improve and know, just have an awareness of what other people might be going through based on their actions, right? Mm-hmm. So then I started my company, started Hitch YYC, and it was to elevate men in the dating world. That would be, so what I work with is like, mental health, etiquette, hygiene, styling, fitness. Fitness is a big thing. Mm-hmm. A lot of people don't know like what a balanced life is, right? So I know what that looks like. yeah, so I started working on, you know, and trying to get clients through like the apps and things like that. And a lot of the time, because people are so used to, you know, just, you know, flip, and then just finding someone new. A lot of people haven't even recognized that they need to make changes. So that wasn't the best avenue anyways. And I said this in another podcast too. I was like, I got banned on Tinder because I did that. And I'm just like, well, I'm not going to go on. It doesn't work for me anymore because I really dove into the apps, right? Yeah. So now what I'm doing is just kind of like helping primarily men improve and elevate and evolve in relationships and outside of that too, right? So I work with a lot of people that are just like out of a divorce or just newly separated or been there for a while and things are just not working out, right? So that's where I help because I've done the things, many things and much growth, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, and I appreciate the like you saying that you jumped right into it right after.
Right.
Like, I was dating someone a week after my wife
left.
Like,
you're like
on, like such a disaster, and it was like the worst thing I probably could have done. Yeah. So there's lots of reasons. So it's really cool, and I think that's why you and I connected, because that's a lot of what I coach guys on the business side a lot, but it also it's only one portion of your life, right? And it's your relationships and your fitness. It all ties together.
Yeah.
And you can't have one without the other, because it's all one package.
Oh, for
unfortunately.
Sure. Yeah. Well, and I feel like a lot of men just dive into, because sometimes they feel defeated, or they just don't know what to do, right? And so then they dive into work and their kids, and you know, and then that's all that they do, and then they, you know, before you know it, so much time has gone by, right? And we all need companionship, right? Mm-hmm. That's we're humans, we're built that way, right? So yes, so it's balance. Again, it goes back to that, right?
Oh, it's so much balance. And what a lot of the studying that I'm doing on things right now, because I'm still trying to figure out, which will be lifelong, but more like how my brain works, how relationships work, how this whole thing comes together. And really for men, a lot of the time it's intimacy that we're lacking. So when we're out searching for something else, like you were talking about the ghosting and all the other stuff, like to me, it's a lot of that is that we aren't getting the intimacy. Either we're away for work and you're gone for 2 weeks, a month, or a couple months with us that work away, and we're missing that lack of intimacy. And I don't condone cheating and all the other stuff, but it really leads to just that you're missing that portion of our life. Like, we're meant to be a connective species.
Absolutely. And men give and receive that differently than women, right? So for me, it's like, you know, I am not giving anything away for a very long time, right? Just because of the things, right? But then, I know men have those types of needs, right? And I don't know like the science and all that kind of stuff behind it, but I know that is a definite need, right? Men and women. But I think that even just like how men come into these things and they're not ready. I had this conversation yesterday, and they'll come in and they think that they're ready, right? And they don't get like the help. So from separation or whatever, divorce, to like their next date, they're not getting any healing done. They're not getting like the help that they need, right? Or just talking to someone. So that what I notice, and what a lot of women notice, is that they'll go on these dates and then they'll talk about their ex, and they'll talk about the trauma, and they'll talk about all these things. And it's just like, I get it. Right. And for me, it's like, because I'm already like, people find me like warm and comfortable, right? Mm-hmm. Like, so then they really spill. But that's what I'm doing for my work. Right. So it's like, but they do it, and then they blow it.
Yeah.
Right. That's just like a loss, because women are so, and one of my girlfriends, she's been divorced for 12 years. And I met her last night, and like 12 years of going on all these dates and meeting people and like all of the, and then like discovering like little things about yourself and even what you like and what you don't like. And now she's finally found someone who's amazing, which is great. But then like, you know, inside of that, it's like, she'll meet people and they'll be like, oh yeah, like newly divorced. And she's like, oh, you're not even ready for me. And I think women are so in tune with that, because they're so sick of the bullshit too that comes with it, and getting hurt. And, you know,
it's so much, it's very interesting to me. That part of it is where I know personally I've put in a ton of work, 7 years of just all of it. And I still catch myself once in a while being like, maybe I'm not maybe I'm not ready. But
yeah.
There's short little bursts, but then it's like, no, like you put in the work. But where I've really found is being open with my expectations, my boundaries,
Yes.
like my needs,
Totally.
which as men, we don't talk about because we're like, nobody wants to hear our bullshit. Nobody wants to hear anything. But if you can articulate that now and say, hey, step this out, and from both sides, these are my needs. Hey, you're going to find someone that is attracted to that, and that's ultimately what you want. So if you're pushing away things that aren't aligned with those boundaries, is it really a bad thing?
Right.
But we tend to like latch onto that and be like, why, it's me, it's me.
Totally.
Yeah. And have you seen that in your journey?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. For me, it's like, I'm here. So I don't want to play any games. Yeah. I'm 41. Yeah. I'm not here to like lure people or seduce people. I'm not here to do that. I know what I want. I want a relationship. And so it's like, yeah, I here it is. This is what it is. And it's not cars and trips and, superficial things, which I know a lot of women are like that too, right? But for me, it's like, it's connection, it's cuddles, it's, like all those things. And it's also time and consistency. And for a man to be a man and make plans and, like those things, and just kind of like, and one person, right? So I think that a lot of the time, if someone's not ready or they're not at that level, they're either scared or, something happens there, which I've witnessed a lot, right? And I know what I want, and I'm not any bullshit. Like, so if I've met someone somewhere else, like in another place or another country or city or whatever, I am still like, okay, let's try to do this. Because there's things that are possible, right? But it's like, if you're not going to do that, then don't give me bullshit, right?
And I think that's, well, with the online now, and even Instagram, Facebook, like the DMs, all like people are from all over the place. And women and men with open profiles. Like I use it for business. So I have an open profile. So you never know what you're going to get.
Oh, totally. I get it all the time.
But women, it's a different thing, I feel, where if the women with open profiles that are in relationships, they're just opening themselves up to a massive like there's always somebody in the wings with their man, right? So there's always a fallback, and men and women both, I'm not saying both,
totally.
But women, you guys have a lot more in your DMs, I believe.
I guess that makes sense. And it's just like, and it's funny how people are not aware, right? And then like for me, and it's opportunity for me, because I'm, like I said, this is what I'm doing for my business, right? I'm not in a relationship, and I'm not trying to be, faithful at this moment, because I'm not, so I'm open to anybody, any conversation. So it's funny, like how little game they even have, right? And I think it's so easy to just, because it's accessible. People are so accessible, and you're able to hide behind your phone, right? So people are just like throwing their shot, where it's just like, and I'll call them out on that too. I'm like, is this work for you ever? Right? Because it's bad. And so those things too. So when people are coming out, so this is what I help with also, is just people just getting that, like, I know what it's like to be with someone who's like chill, who's got a good vibe, who's a man, who walks into the room and like heads turn. I know what that experience is, right? So that it doesn't take, the vibe, sure, that might be a little bit harder to find, right? And harder to achieve. But, like the way that they look, the way that their confidence, because like you can look like anything, but if you have confidence, that's like a game changer, right? And for me, that was like, I could have been so small coming out of my marriage, right? Because I was told I was ABC, right? And, it becomes a belief. And so then I came out of that, and I'm just like, now I walk into a room and I'm like, I own it, right? I love it. It's like intoxicating.
Well, that first night at Highly Redacted there, when I met you, it was, you had an energy.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it's very cool, and I'm attracted to that, because I like to think that that's how I enter a room.
Yeah.
So, and I've had to work on that over the years.
Huge.
And so to that point though, what advice would you give to people to get to that point? Like, what is it? A mindset shift? Is it an appearance? Is it?
Yeah. I feel like number one is the appearance. Yeah. Right. And it's like, for me, I work out, and I promote that like crazy, right? Like that's like a lifestyle for me. I feel guilty if I don't, like if I miss, when I was sick, I was like, oh, I haven't been, and I'm like trying, and then I'll like go and attempt a little ones, and I'm just like, oh, I'm so tired. But that's a big thing, and that's like your inside, right? And so it's like, and outside, like people, they see me after like many years, and like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I work out, I don't drink very much, I eat healthy, I drink water, right? But yeah, so I think number one is just kind of like recognizing that it's just like, it's like switching something, especially if you're not practicing it, right? So it's like getting that stuff started. And then it's like, and then it's the styling, and it's just like that, like little things like that, like a good haircut, beard trim, like, like I work with so many people who are just like, who look good when they come in, and it's just like, because I'm so visually stimulated, right? And so stuff like that I notice, and I'm like, wow, and what a difference it makes, right? Just like little, like even when I first met you, you had like the suit, little like the details. I noticed those things, right? And it looks so sharp, and you really put your effort, and you know what I mean, and just some time and energy into it, and it makes a big difference. So yes, styling, that's a big one. And it's just, and another one is just like, it's a mindset. If you come out of something that's like 15 plus, 20 plus years, and you've been really broken down, it's taking the time after those big, long relationships and like working on yourself, and like getting that like mental health work, even just like, even going and just talking, like, this is the thing. I'm not a licensed anything, right? But I know, because I've been through it, right?
So
and so I know,
I'm the same.
So just talking to someone, and like, and not going on a date and like talking to them and using them, right? Talking to someone, because it doesn't take much time if you really like dive into it, into like the self work. And a lot of the time, like, men will be like, I'm going to get counseling now, but then it's like, like the ex-wife was like, I've been telling you this for years, right? And so many men are like, yeah, like when they're explaining their situations, they're like, so married for 20 years and like all of a sudden, right? And I'm like, no, man. That was like a long time coming. That's them like nagging you to have date night, and going to the gym, and going to counseling, and having time for themselves, and like all those things, and just maybe not drinking so much, things like that. And it's just like, they're just so oblivious a lot of the time.
I was that guy.
Yeah.
I was literally legit, just as you explained it. I was
all
that
of a
guy.
sudden,
I was like, where
out
did
of
this,
nowhere.
what just happened? Like 17 years. Like, what the hell happened? No, it was a buildup of years and years. But I attribute it to, in my situation, and is disconnecting from myself. So over the years of being away from work, or working away from work, I use that as a way to protect myself, like from being gone.
Right.
So you're missing birthdays and holidays and all. So
just like shutting down,
and then it just compounds over time, and then legit, you're just being, you're not even present in any situation.
Right.
But it was, to me, like, that's how, after stepping away, when I went to rehab for 2 months, that was the first part of the personal development journey.
Right.
But it was more for depression than anything. I just had to get the heck out of here, and through that process and starting to evaluate myself. But it was like, legit, I was just disconnecting from myself, and it had nothing to do with her, the family, the kids, or nothing. It was just myself, protecting myself. But then I just shut everything down. So I couldn't feel, just numb.
Scary. So what happened when you felt like the first time, where you're like, oh, like when you felt some type of something?
So it was a disaster.
Is it?
Oh yeah.
It just like all came out, years and years of suppression.
So it was very cool, because not at the time, but processing it after. But part of one of the exercises that we did, I had to write a letter to my kids from my therapist, but it was my obituary to both of them.
Okay.
And then I read it to him. Like, I was okay writing it. I did cry. But then when I had to read it to him, the counselor, I couldn't even get through it. I ended up getting through it, but it was a nightmare. Yeah.
So what was
so it's
it?
like, what is this? I don't know
What
what
am I
this
feeling?
is. Yeah. And that was, so it took years, and I still try to process, like, when it's something comes up, it's like, where I feel it here, or I feel it down here.
Yep.
Like, what is that? But like, what is this? Like, cause it's, sometimes there's a triggering event, but that triggering event has nothing to do with whatever's
happening.
Yeah. So
but it's
like,
that emotion.
Yeah, well, that's weird. I haven't felt that before. And then trying to figure out where it comes from.
Right.
But now not drinking. I haven't had a drink since 2019.
Right.
And I don't do drugs. I quit steroids at the same time.
Good.
I quit chewing tobacco. Like, I quit it all at the same time.
Beautiful.
But I have no way to numb now. I have no way to hide those feelings.
Oh, so you express them. You feel them.
You feel them.
Yeah.
But trying to express them is a totally different still, like 7 years later, is still like a new thing, right?
I find that too with men, like not having a hard time articulating those things.
Yeah.
Because for me, I'm like, I feel like, and I will explain it, and I will paint a picture, and I will, whatever way someone will receive it, I'm able to kind of like adjust myself to give that, right? So that's what I've developed that, but not a lot of people, even if I'm articulating my feelings, they don't know what to do with it if they haven't even worked on themselves. So that's a big disconnect that I've had, even just me dating, right? Because I'm like, I like this thing. Yeah. I'm not, when I like something, I get excited, right? I'm extreme, and I say it to everyone. I'm like, passion is my baseline, right? So if I like something, I love it. I love the feeling. And so it's not always necessarily the person, but it's that feeling. And so sometimes when I am kind of like heartbroken or whatever, I've been able to now recognize that, okay, it's not this guy, right? Not necessarily. It's just the feeling that I felt with him, right? Yeah. And so I'm able to kind of like, okay, I like the feeling. So, it's too bad that ABC didn't work out, whatever, but this is what I like. And it's given me an opportunity to have a discovery about what I like, and what is now like something like on my list, because my list is really big. Have you ever like written down what you're looking for, like in a partner?
Yeah. I had a dating coach. She had me do that. Yeah.
Okay.
Legit. Yeah. It was non-negotiables that I'm looking for in a partner. And then, what I'm looking for, and then non-negotiables. So if these things happen, I'm out.
Yep.
Like, I'm out. I've totally broken all of those.
But you're single, right? Like,
well, I know, but so it's not working, because, if I had stuck to those, so none of this is perfect. Like,
and things adjust, and you have another, like I said, another discovery.
So for me, discoveries with partners is not even partners, just the idea of relationships. I don't live in a box, like a normal box that people live in. Like, my life is so good. It's outside the matrix is what I like to say.
Okay.
So why should a relationship, and that's the hard part, is because society's been conditioned to this white picket fence, this type of relationship. That's not going to work for me ever. Why? Because my life is not in that perfect little box that society has. So why would that relationship? But that,
So you mean like rigid? Nothing like, because for me, it's, I am very much like go with the flow, but ultimately I have a goal. Like, I want to have someone, and I don't know what that looks like really. And maybe that speaks to your point.
Yes.
Because things evolve, and you adapt to like change, and then like something comes up that like rocks your world, right? And then you have to kind of be like, okay, and then either this way or this way, right? Like, I think that if people have that ability, it's so much better, right? Like, and if two people have that, then it just aligns a lot. You know what I mean? Like, it just
100%. But today, I hate the word "but," and I just used it. And in today's society, it's really that I've found people aren't the norm. Like, it's not. Right. But if you did have that, to your point that you just had, if that's when things happen or life changes, an opportunity comes up. But if you have two growth-minded people that are working towards not even the same goal, but they're just together in this growth, they can weather those storms.
Totally.
But when you start having conversations like you and I are having right now I've found with people that aren't open to that, you push them away. And
for sure.
So and that's my goal, is to have more people that are thinking this way.
Yeah.
Because to me, it's way more fun to be, life isn't supposed to be just normal.
I dated this one guy and he actually told me he could not stop and smell the roses.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, what are you doing? What's bringing you joy? Because he's just like, he's headed down, where he was in something that was like 7 years and it was just a shitty relationship. And he's so, and so the funny thing is with that, because people are so used, it's such an addiction, things, right? Like chaos, right? So when you're in something that has been really tough or toxic, and it's so many years of it, you get used to that. So it's almost like you're searching for like, you're more like yearning for like the chaos when something feels good and safe and, and different, right? Because like even this guy, he's just like, and I'm like, okay. Right? Like, I'm like, do you ever breathe? I'm like, deep breathe, or like go for a walk and like feel the sun. That's why I always use this, but it's like, I go for walks and I'll be like, oh, I feel like the sun on my face. And I'm like, I take it in. But those things that's me experiencing joy. Yeah. Right. And I'll ask a lot of people, I'm like, are you happy? And they're like, and I'm like, okay, that high pitched, whatever sound, that is so many people's, like so many answers to a lot of that question, which is wild.
Just never thought about it. It's just, I'm living in this moment. This is all I'm going to be. This is all I'm going to do. And they're not looking to who knows what the future is going to be. And but you need to have a goal outside of just living today.
Yeah.
You can live today, to your point of smelling the roses, if you're actually like building the blocks to move forward.
Totally. Yeah.
Way, to me, than in the life of chaos. And trust me, I was the king of chaos.
Yeah. Yeah. God.
I was the king of chaos.
Yeah.
Like when you live out of town, basically all your life, your life is chaos.
Yeah.
So
and never like really like settling into anything.
Yeah.
Because I told you I dated like a guy he was gone for 2 weeks and here for 2 weeks. And it was tough. And for me, the whole time I was like, oh, I get to see him. I'm living my life. Right. And then he comes and then I'm like, it's almost like I'm smothering him. Right. Because he needs to just like, and I had to learn that because I didn't know at all. Right. I thought he was just like going to work. He's like got his downtime, whatever. But then it's like, no, he needs to come home, settle in and feel like comfortable again. And then before you know it, you're gone again.
Yeah.
Right. That's tough.
So I'd love to touch on that and see, after you've experienced that now, what things would you have done differently now? So for people that are listening, that are in that like relationship. Yeah.
Yeah. So, cause my cousin is in that and they've been happily married, but it didn't start off like that. So he would go now and then just kind of come back. But in the time that he was gone, she had this routine. And so what I would do different, I mean, it's hard because we didn't really get into, like, I wasn't living with him or anything like that. We're just kind of dating. So it was still like butterflies and fun and exciting. But what I would do, I guess, because I'm just more understanding of it, is that I would let him, rather than being like, I'm going to pick you up from the airport. I want to see you. And then just that, I would probably like give him a couple days, despite how much it would be like, for me. Just to kind of like, so then my visit and the visits that I had with him would be like wanted and would be like embraced, rather than like, so maybe someone who's married, I don't know. I feel like they would get into some kind of like routine of things, but even just finding ways to like reintegrate back into like life, right? And finding those tools, right? Which I don't, I'd have to give that some thought, but that's because that's part of like the disconnect component of, like what they're experiencing, right? I would say.
Yeah. Cause I'm sure he'd missed you like a lot,
right?
But still he comes home, he has his own routine already that he's built up over however long. And now it's like, oh my God.
No, I gotta but then this says like, this speaks to like communication, right? Like this is a big thing. And I feel like a lot of people lack this because it's hard, or they don't want to deal with it, or whatever it is. But like, even just having that communication to be like, okay, hey, you're coming back. What does that look like? And like, how is it going to feel more comfortable for you to like, to again, reintegrate into life, and then me. And so for some, so even that, some people don't even know, I don't know. Right. And it's just like, so even just like what I'm trying to get people to do is just like little practices also. Yeah. So if they've noticed something that, you know, like that is a pattern, or that they're doing, like experiencing. One guy was like, I'm feeling, it was around Christmas time, and he's like, hey, I really feel just shitty. I'm like feeling. And so for me, I'm like, I'm like, great. You know, like when I have my time, like Christmas Eve, I'm like watching movies by myself. I'm like with my dog, but then other people are experiencing like that sadness and like whatever. And so what I try to do is give them little assignments, I guess, little things to do, little challenges where like, I'm like, close your eyes and like, think about like, what you missed, like all the good things that you had from those memories, from those experiences, and like try to pinpoint what it is that you're lacking now. Right. And it's just kind of like, it's just like a different way of them to see things. Right. And then just kind of like, and they've got now a task. Right. And just kind of something to like really dive into, because those are the things that they just don't know. So being able to articulate what it is, like what it looks like if I come back and I now have to, what, because a lot of people don't even think about themselves all the time.
No.
So you need to.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, like articulate like your needs. My partner in this podcast, he's married and been successfully for
beautiful
17 years.
Okay.
And so really good. And that's something that they do, is they check in before he comes home.
Yes.
And because you know, even if it's a couple months that he's been gone, because he works overseas for the most part. Yeah. And so it could be different this time than the last time coming home.
100%.
But like, okay, where are we at?
Yeah.
What do you need? This is what I need.
Yeah.
This is where I'm at. And now you can, and same with the kids, because they got a few kids.
Yeah.
So,
but it like relieves that anxiety part of it, like for both ends too. Because then you're not, for me, I like to know things so I don't make up stories in my mind. Right. Yeah. And then like, I would like, my husband would leave the house for work and I would have made up so many stories in my mind. So by the end of the day, I'd be mad at him, or there'd be something.
That's one day.
And that's one day. Yeah, exactly. So when you can actually like, recognize that you do stuff like that, and then like, you know, do something about it. But yeah, like just voicing things and just communicating. That's why I'm like, I'm all about it. Yeah. And that's why I'm like, you know, even if I say I like you or whatever, then it's like these guys will be like, whoa. But then I'm like, no, it's just like I would like to know even if you're on the same page. Yeah. Because if not, I'm fine. Yeah. You know what I mean? But I think that a lot of people don't want to be uncomfortable and have uncomfortable conversations, right? When you're talking about now like dating, right? And it's just like, be real. We're all like, we've all been through shit. You telling me you're not interested or you don't see us this way or whatever it is, that's not going to break my world. I'm fine. Yeah. Right? Ugh. That is what's lacking.
Yes. Yeah. Is open communication and honesty. And I think that's huge, but it starts with being honest to yourself, what your needs are, what your expectations are, what your wants are.
Yes.
Because if you don't know, you can't articulate that to other people. Yeah. And that's been huge for me and I'm still not perfect at it, but I have expressed those like love languages. Like,
good. What are your love languages?
Oh, well, I'm a dude, so physical touch for one. But I always thought it was words of affirmation, but it's actually quality time. So when I'm working away, it explains a lot why I'm not filling my cup if you're not getting quality time. Things are different now with FaceTime or video calls, this and that. But that wasn't around when I first started in the industry, like a lot of people. And so it's really changed how things are gone. But if you need that quality time or even physical touch, and if those are your two love languages and you're not getting that for weeks or months, wow.
Yeah.
But it's something we've never talked about or never thought about before, especially as dudes.
Yeah, especially as dudes. That's the thing. That's a big one, right?
Yeah.
My train of thought.
Yeah.
I lost my train of thought.
No, it's good. It happens. So with all that being said, with guys and gals that are in the industry of wanting to date, what are types of things that you think you can help with?
So I work on like the mental health part of it, and not just myself, but I am kind of like I'm collaborating with a few different, can I mention them?
Or? Yeah.
So like Men's League and like Day One Dads. Day One Dads has been a big one lately. They have like a bunch of events. Have you ever been?
No, I seen you post it the other day.
Yeah. Awesome, guys.
Cool.
So I actually went to school with these guys.
Okay. Sweet.
Yeah. But they provide resources for dads. And now they've started like Hey Mom, but they provide resources for people that like for men, for dads, for them to kind of like just be aware or out there, right? So like suicide prevention, mental health, like so many things, right? So it's those things. Your question was how can I help in the day? Okay. So yeah. So then we touch on fitness. So fitness is a massive part of like, just like a good, healthy lifestyle, right? So I've got like fitness guys. And for me, I also like go do the stairs and like, in the summer and the winter, right? Like I'm out there because I've got a dog too, right? Which is like, so it does force me to like do those things, right? And I feel good and all that kind of stuff. So fitness is a big part of it. I will call you out on anything, and only to improve the experience, right? So it's I always like, I look at both things, right? And it's like, if someone looks amazing, I'm like, whoa, like I love it, right? And I will praise you, and I'll, and if someone is doing something that's not ideal for any situation, I will be like, hey, you know how you could do it better? Like this, like I would let people know in a soft way. Like one guy I dated, I just wasn't feeling it, and I wasn't sure if it was me or if it was him or if it was just a thing. And now I'm like, when I feel it, I feel it. That's just what it comes down to. But I told him, and I'm like, hey, I don't know if this is me or just like that. And he's like, I'm like, but you're a great human. And there's A, B, C, like that are so amazing about you. And he's like, I for the first time, I haven't felt like rejection or that feeling of like, I'm not good enough, right? Because it's not him, it's me. Like it's me lacking that, whatever it is. So like that's etiquette and like hygiene. A lot of people with hygiene, it's a thing. Right. And I'm just like, brush your teeth, floss, like do all those things on a regular basis, go to the dentist and get maintenance done. Right. And be aware, carry gum. Right. I carry like a toothbrush and a toothpaste in my purse. Right. And so just, there was another thing that I had lost here. Styling is a big thing. And what a difference it makes. And like such a small effort. Right. So I will go and we'll go shopping. So to about my son, because I had to get him a winter coat. Right. And he's now like a men's small. So there's a lot more options for him. So we went and we tried probably like 35 jackets on. Right. And every time you would try something on, because I just want to bring out the best, everyone's best self. Right. I don't want to change them. I just want to I want to learn them, which I do. I intimately learn these people, and I want them to be comfortable, and I want them to be authentic. Right. And so when I was shopping with him, I was like, he'd be like, oh, I don't like this little thing. And so I'll like quickly like make adjustments and just kind of like, I'm good. Right. Like I'm sharp with it. And so at the end, it was like, I was like, I found it. Right. And I just had it open, and he's like, cause he's 12 years old. And I'm like, I found it, and I tried it on. He tried it on, and it was it. And I was just, so I'm good at like finding out what it is that makes people comfortable and like in their own skin, and just kind of like playing with that, and like just elevating their experience based on like things that they don't even know, to your point earlier, that they don't even know about themselves. Right.
The styling it's huge, I think, for a guy that wears hoodies most of the time.
Right.
Like seriously. But that, for a lot of the listeners, that's what they wear Carhartts all day.
Right. But it can actually look pretty good.
Carhartts are work boots. But it's those times where, especially if you're putting yourself out there, it's that little bit of effort that you touched on. It's like it goes a long way.
Huge, right? Though.
Like most of us can't have beards out there and stuff.
Right, that's what I heard.
But if we do, make sure that it's trimmed,
looks
and
clean, right? Like you upkeep it.
Wash your shit. Like
wash your clothes, like get new white t-shirts, right? Like things like that, like shoes, like nails trimmed, right? Like clean nails, right? haircut, nose hair.
Yes.
That's a big thing.
Yeah. Anyone over 25, your shit's going to start growing when
yes.
you
know, like, but it's just like, and then exercise, like that just like makes it just even better. The clothes fit you better, right? Even a t-shirt.
Yeah.
There's things that you don't even have to put that much effort, but if you have a good base, you know what I mean? Then it's like, you really can have like, you can wear anything, but just like the little details, the socks, the nice fitting pants, like, you know, I have like Dan, he's my stylist guy. He's with the Kingly, and he is just looks so good all the time.
Yeah.
And when you can appreciate like what that, like that, it is really something to appreciate, right? And they smell good. That is a big one, because that is what someone will be walking by in the mall, and I'd be like it's just naturally like turning my body, right? Because I love smell, right? Like all those things make a huge difference.
Yeah.
So.
No, it's really good. I think those are huge points and most of us, we don't do, because I've come out of the bush. I had the wickedest mustache. It was like this Ron Jeremy porn stash.
Mustaches are...
Time. This was like 2013 or so, something like that. And she looked at me and she's like, "You're not sleeping with me until you shave.
Not hot.
Until you shave this thing off.
You are not sexy right now."
I will say I outlasted her. So
did you?
Yeah, she didn't make it the day. She didn't make it the day. It was so greasy. But but just the little things. So I think it's
That's it for today's episode of the One More Boom podcast. Remember, you're part of a community that doesn't settle for the status quo. Here, we push boundaries, support each other, and thrive under pressure. Whether you're out in the field or leveling up your career, we've got your back. Stay connected, stay driven, and keep embodying the grit of a different breed. Until next time, keep pushing forward. Together, we'll achieve more. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next episode of One More Boom.